I know the supernatural is something that isn't supposed to happen, but it does happen.
Those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars.
Well, Terry, authorities tell us that the most serious or perhaps the most dangerous kind of devil worship comes in the form of underground cults.
Is it merely a passing fad, or is there a demonic continuity in the history of man?
We want to warn you now that some things you're about to see and hear might be too graphic for children.
It's that mysterious time of year again when we release an episode of Words About Occult Books.
Oh my God.
I am Ben, and I am here with my co-host, Shy.
Coho? That's me?
You do channel a similar energy, you and Nate.
Yeah, except I'm far more aggressive.
True. So today, this has been a long delayed episode for a couple of reasons. It took me a while to get the material prepared because first off, it's a little tricky to understand. I actually had to write a script for this one. And then after I got the script written, you got super involved in preparing for your show.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't been...
I'm a sketch comic now, by the way, if anyone cares.
and now my partner here has been spending so much time in the making of props and the rehearsing of scripts that we have not had time to sit down and record this. So we're finally getting to it. We are covering the Way of Hermes. And Shai, you don't know much about this except what I've been telling you.
Yeah.
But you're interested in alchemy and such.
Yes,
and
it's like the perfect mix of magic and science.
And you also like secret societies, like you're interested in the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians and all that. So the Way of Hermes is a relatively new translation that was actually recommended by Justin Sledge of the Esoterica YouTube channel. And so I'm a big fan of his channel. I decided to check it out. It was published in the US in 2000, but it contains translations of the Corpus Hermeticum and the definitions of Hermes Trismegistus to Asclepius.
God bless you.
And we will get into who these people are in just a second. But these are two ancient, though not as ancient as they'd hoped, texts that are foundational to a lot of the spiritual side of Hermeticism and I would say even alchemy. The seven planets are frequently mentioned, which the seven planets of the ancient world being the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Corresponding, of course, to gold, silver, quicksilver, copper, iron, tin, and lead.
What? Okay, before we go any further, I am taking this opportunity to ask, what is quicksilver?
Mercury.
Oh. Okay.
I just said quicksilver because it's the planet and the element.
Ah. See, I've always heard quicksilver, and I'm just like, okay, speedy silver. I don't get it.
I think it refers to its like liquid at room temperature state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense once you said it was mercury. Like, oh yeah, I guess it is liquid silver in a way.
Yeah. So these texts, the Corpus Hermeticum and the definitions, are attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, the thrice great Hermes.
The Trismegistus.
Trismegistus. So the thrice great Hermes, he is a legendary, as opposed to historical, syncretic figure from the Hellenistic period. So about like 350 to like 50 BC. And mostly in the Eastern Mediterranean and the Middle East, that those areas of the Hellenistic world that were influenced by Greek culture because of Alexander the Great's conquest, but not necessarily Greek Greece proper.
Okay.
And Hermes Trismegistus is syncretic in that he is a conflation of Hermes, the Greek messenger god, who's also the god of magic, and the Egyptian, and I'm going to say Thoth.
I say Tot or Toth.
And we'll talk about Tot here in a second. So it's kind of a fusion of... So do you know, I forget what it's called. I forget what the belief system is called. But essentially the Greeks and the Romans believed that the gods they worshipped were the same gods everybody else worshipped, they just appeared differently to different cultures and under different names.
Okay.
But whenever they went to a new culture, like, say, Egypt, they looked for rough equivalents of their gods, and Hermes maps on to Thoth.
That makes sense.
So a lot of what Thoth is also I don't know if he's really a god of magic, but writing.
Yeah.
So, but they can't really make up their mind about who Hermes Trismegistus is. You're going to hear different things from different people in different texts. In these specific writings, he appears to be a human sage living in or around ancient Egypt, though there are places in the text where he is referred to as a god, but there are also places in the text that explain how a human being can become a god. So not mutually exclusive. So Hermes and Thoth in Egypt, where most of Western alchemy comes from, Thoth is definitely associated with alchemy. Both of them are associated with magic with a particular astrological or alchemical bent. So both of them are associated with, knowing where the planets are at a certain time and how those planets and their movements influence things here on Earth. And you're going to hear a lot as we go through. Hermeticism basically is a practice that is foundational to like a lot of Western esoteric magic, and some of the more religious beliefs of Hermeticism kind of go back to the Corpus Hermeticum. So it's going to be weird because you're almost going to get like, this is going to feel like going through the books of the Bible a little bit, though they're way, way shorter.
Yeah.
So and like with all these ancient texts, the history of the text is almost as interesting as the text itself, and certainly more comprehensible. So a manuscript of the Corpus Hermeticum was brought to Florence in 1460. It was a codex, so like a proper book bound between two covers, containing 14 treatises attributed to Hermes Trismegistus. It was believed by the people who found it that these writings, which were in Greek, were in fact Greek translations of a much more ancient Egyptian text that predated Plato and Moses. And keep it in mind, in magical circles also, Neoplatonism is a huge thing. You and I, for reasons totally unrelated to this, were talking about Plato's World of Forms and stuff last night.
Yep.
And that is very influential on Western esoteric practice. And of course, Moses and the Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism. These are all very big for people who are interested in the religion plus side of magic, I guess. So these texts were thought to actually be the inspiration for all later Western philosophy, because a lot of what Plato talks about, a lot of what Moses talks about in the books that are attributed to him that were definitely not written by him, they all seem to relate to this. And later we'll figure out it's probably that they influenced this, not that this influenced them. But when you combine this with some other alchemical texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, this prophet, this man, this god, Hermes Trismegistus, becomes as important a figure as Plato or Moses. And in fact, when they brought the text to Florence, there was an expert translator who was working on translating the works of Plato. They took him off Plato and put him on this because this was more important.
Okay.
So then in 1614, it was proved that the Corpus Hermeticum probably did not predate Plato and Moses, and that the text was most likely composed whole cloth in Greek in the early 1st century in Alexandria. And this would make sense because in Alexandria, you have the Library of Alexandria, you have all of the various cultures that were conquered by Alexander the Great. Their written works are coming into this one library. Somebody could have access to all these things, and they could make this syncretic religious text out of them. So after that, the popularity of Hermeticism started to wane. It wasn't as old as they thought it was. It wasn't as important as they thought it was. So a lot of people moved on, but not everyone, because it remained an important part of secret society movements, such as the Freemasons and the Rosicrucians. And then interest in the Hermetic texts has been kind of renewed since then, as some of these texts, well, copies of them, were found amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls. Some of those texts showed an initiate moving up through ranks of the 7 planets to attain greater knowledge of Hermeticism. And scholars believe that this is proof of a secret Hermetic society that existed around the birth of Christ. And it also kind of called back into question whether Hermetic ideas might be older than we thought.
So can I insert a fun fact, a quote unquote fun fact?
Absolutely.
This was some ancient alien style conspiracy nonsense that I saw like decades ago now, and it hurts my soul to say that. But like I remember the first time I had
Giorgio Tsoukalopoulos and
I've watched him grow his hair. I watched his hair consume him.
I've watched his hair grow. I've watched his hair wax and wane with the changing of the season.
No, but the first time I had ever heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls, it was of the same line of those like History Channel kind of like conspiracy documentaries where they were talking about how the Dead Sea Scrolls were this new thing that they've discovered, and how one of the scrolls they had gotten to translate or decipher had somehow said that there was one scroll for every human on Earth. And I was young when I saw this. This was genuinely like, I was probably a teenager or like early 20s. Mm-hmm. So I bought it for $1. I was like, I believe you. And then, like the older I got, the more I was like, but how though? How would they have one scroll for every human on Earth?
Well, there were fewer people back then.
Yes, but in my head, I'm like, I'm going to go there someday when I hit it big, and I'm going to find my scroll.
Oh, geez, that's like a Junji Ito plot.
Not smart, am I? No, and like the thing that like every human had their own scroll was also a big fat fucking lie. Somebody was like exaggerating the whatever was written. It was just one of those things that like haven't thought about that for a very long time.
The Dead Sea Scrolls, for anyone who doesn't know, are literally a collection of texts found in the Nag Hammadi region. It was found by some guys who... The story gets really weird. It was found by a couple of guys who were, I don't know if they were like looking for a place to hide a body or something, but they were not super educated dudes. These were people living like in the sticks of the Middle East. And they find all these scrolls. They don't really know or care what's in them. They actually burned some of them for like kindling. And then somebody eventually found them and told them, like, that'd probably be worth a lot. And it was worth a lot. They found a lot of books of the Bible. They found a couple of non-canonical books of the Bible. They found some of these Hermetic texts, gnostic texts. And there was a lot of mystery surrounding them. So they were found, I think they were found in the 40s, I want to say. And they got to be really studied in the 60s, but only by experts. And there was a lot of conspiracy going around because the general public didn't know what was in the scrolls. And in fact, the Dead Sea Scrolls are like an intricate part of the plot of Evangelion. And since then, the full text of the scrolls has been made publicly available. But I really think it wasn't until around like 95. That everything,
that like the public kind of started getting like actual information about it.
Yeah. And that people, so I think they became available to the academic community around 1995, but then it wasn't probably another 10 to 20 years before you're getting like, the Gospel of Thomas at Barnes and Noble. Well, you need somebody to like translate it, do the commentary, like explain all the relevant details. So the Dead Sea Scrolls took on this really like mystical significance that a lot of people thought like finding these Dead Sea Scrolls at the end of a millennium was like a sign that this is
proof of a higher power, when in
and that this is the end of the
preserved
age.
Papyrus.
This is the end of the age. This is
it certainly was the end of an age.
Yeah, but going along with that, actually, some vocabulary, some terms you're going to need to know, and this would apply to most Dead Sea Scroll stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about gnosis.
Gnosis. I've heard that before.
You've heard gnostic.
Yes.
You've heard agnostic.
I've heard gnosis before as well.
Gnosis is, I believe, the noun. I think it's noun in Greek. It means knowledge or awareness. And in the philosophical or religious context, it refers to a kind of enlightenment moment. Some religious traditions, the Gnostics famously believe that attaining true knowledge of humanity's divine nature is the way that we are going to be able to release ourselves from the constraints of earthly existence. And the Gnostic Christians believed that Jesus was sent here to show us the way to achieve gnosis. And then there's a concept of, and I have no idea if I'm saying this correctly, I think I am, nous. Nous is the Greek word for mind. But Hermes Trismegistus uses nous to mean something more. Though I'm going to be honest with you, I'm struggling to wrap my own head around it. I don't know if it would be right. I don't know if it would be right to say I'm struggling to wrap my noose around it, because the way he talks, my noose already knows, but my mind does not.
So like it is like your deep unconscious.
It is something like a divine mind. It is distinct from the soul and from like the brain.
You grossly underestimate the power of the unconscious mind. It is, I believe, the unconscious mind is its own thing.
Well, then you might have no trouble whatsoever wrapping your head around. You might eat this stuff up shy and explain it to me.
It's because my brain isn't intact.
Yes. So The books of the Corpus Hermeticum are what we're going to focus on in this episode. I have no idea how far we're going to get. It depends on how confusing you find this. Or how interesting you find it. If you've got a lot of thoughts on it, we might go long. But the books of the Corpus Hermeticum are all short treatises, like pamphlet-sized individually.
Yeah.
And they reveal some aspect of reality to the reader. It really seems as if they were designed to accompany an initiation to a new rank in whatever society used them. But they're almost definitely out of order as presented. So we'll have to, you'll get like at the very beginning, we'll get a lot of definitions of stuff that are, but then we'll get a simpler definition later. Okay. So it's going to be a little weird like that, but I figured the best way to go through them is in order. Now, the books are not titled, but I've given them titles just so I could keep them
in order
in my head. So okay. I'm calling book 1 Creation. Okay. So Hermes, not every, but most books are presented in the dialectic style. So this is how Plato wrote a lot of his stuff. It's always a conversation between 2 or more people.
Okay.
And so this one is a conversation between Poimandres and Hermes Trismegistus. Now, Poimandres is the noose of the supreme.
Okay.
Okay. So this is my best summary of this chapter.
Give it to me. Let's do this.
Okay. So Hermes Trismegistus describes an encounter with Poimandres, the noose of the supreme. Poimandres first shows how creation happened to Hermes Trismegistus. So first, there was a gentle light. Then there came to be a downward moving darkness in one part of the light.
Okay.
The darkness changed into a watery substance and began to shake and churn, and it gave off steam or smoke.
It's like black gold or oil.
The disturbance in the watery substance became a cry, loud and inarticulate, but definitely the sound of a ringing phone. And the cry...
Was it your mom?
Yeah, it was. I'll call her back. The cry was...
Text her real quick and let her know that we're recording.
Yeah.
Because she'll complain.
So, out of... the cry was of the light. And out of that light, I think, came forth the holy word, which then entered into the watery substance. The entrance of the word triggered a column of pure fire to erupt from the watery substance. The light rose up from it until it seemed to be held up by the column of fire. In its wake, the light left earth and water mingled together so that it was hard to tell either apart. The earth and water were kept in motion by the breath of the word which passed over them.
Venus.
Okay, so my immediate reaction to that is, have you ever seen the alchemy symbols for earth, air, fire, and water?
Yes, I play a lot of escape games, and escape games love alchemic symbols.
So the triangles, and then 2 point up, and 2 point down. One has a line through. Yeah, so that's what that reminded me of. There's upward moving things, downward moving things, and there's we have the holy word, which seems to be air. We have the pillar of fire, which separates the light from the dark. Something's going on here, right? There's some stuff here. And so at this point, Poimandres asks Hermes Trismegistus if he understands what he has seen.
Yep.
That is almost exactly his response. I wrote down, he says that he could probably figure it out.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, it makes sense.
Yeah, give me a minute. Give me a minute to stew on that.
I get it.
Poimandres explains that the light is Poimandres, aka Nous, what Hermes would call God. Nous existed before the watery substance. And the clear word that came from Nous was the Son of God.
Penis.
Hermes says that he definitely understands, but he wants to make sure that Poimandres understands before they go any further. So if you could just explain that in your own words. And Poimandres explains that in which sees that in you which sees and hears is the word of the Lord. Nous is God the Father. They are not separate, and their union is life itself. To which Hermes says, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Life itself. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. And so from that, I take to mean that the personality, the intellect, the observer that is
the innate,
your soul, that is the word of God. And then the Nous is like the thing that's well, it's not separate, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's like it's there. It does stuff. It's like cause and effect. It's thing and then Nous.
So you're following?
I got it. Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
All right, so Hermes then asks where the elements of nature come from.
My butt. Sorry.
Poimandres explains that they come from the will of God, which, holding the word and seeing the beautiful cosmos, made one exactly like it, fashioned from her own constituent elements and the offspring of souls.
Yeah.
So basically, God creates the universe out of himself or herself.
Themselves.
It is
ourselves.
themselves because Nous is God, and God is male and female. It is not separate. It contains both. And beginning as life and light, it gave birth by the word to another Nous. And this Nous is the creator of the world. And he is the God of fire and air. So we have God, the thing that came before everything else. The first thing God creates is another God.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the Gnostic thing. This sounds like a demiurge to me. So this is the contractor God hires to build the universe.
Okay. He outsources his own job to somebody else.
Somebody else who is also him.
Yeah, but it's like
that
it's like
Severance
assigning your
situation.
clone to do your job.
Yeah.
You're still doing your job.
Yeah.
But you're not.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any goddamn sense. It's almost like the outline for like the white collar work structure.
Yeah.
You're working,
it's
but
the
you're also
show
not.
Severance on a cosmic scale.
Ooh.
So the creator, being the god of air and fire, formed 7 powers who encompass in their circles the sensory world. And the governance of these powers is called destiny.
Bum bum bum.
So the 7 powers to me seems to be the 7 planets, right?
Yeah, that's pretty 1-to-1.
And there's a belief amongst some alchemists that The 7 planets also correspond to 7 organs within the body, and I kind of wondered if that had something to do with this. The sun being the heart, the moon being the brain, the Mercury being the lungs, Venus being the kidneys, Mars, sorry shy, being the gallbladder, Jupiter being the liver, and Saturn being the spleen.
This is upsetting.
Yeah, so you're 1 down.
Damn it.
Yeah, I'm
on my way to cosmic destruction.
Well, you might not get enlightenment this time around.
Or maybe I will.
Not without a gallbladder. So
maybe it's the thing that's been holding me back.
Basically, the spheres move around and they sort of create the sensory world. And that's, I guess you could argue that's because they're lights. They're the source of lights.
Yeah.
So they create what you can see. And the governance of them is called destiny. And so I guess that is a nod maybe to an astrological principle.
I mean, yeah, whenever you bring the concept of, I'm just going to say the concept of the 7, because it kind of comes up in a bunch of different like religions and like folklore. Basically, the 7 or the 6 stars that do move across the sky faster than like the rest of the mostly stationary ones.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So regardless, some other stuff happens then. They show Hermes what happened next. The word of God leapt forth from the downward elements to do the work of the Creator, the Creator being of the same substance as the Word. Once the Word was removed from the downward elements, only matter remained.
Ooh, it's crack.
It's crystal now. Yeah. So Nous the Creator then caused the spheres and those things he made to spin and revolve. And the rotation of the spheres brought forth from the downward moving elements living beings without speech, for they did not have the word in them.
I saw you put your hand up like you were standing at a pulpit. Like, we are not at church right now, Ben.
Aren't we?
We are not.
Earth, water, and air were separated from them. From the air came winged creatures. From the water came swimming creatures. It was fortunate it wasn't the other way around. From the earth came 4-footed animals, beasts, and reptiles. Unclear what the difference is, but I think there's a translation thing going on there. Both wild and tame. So the cows came pre-tamed in this.
Yeah, and considering there's no wild, like, bovine as we know, like, and I don't know what bison and buffalo are categorized as, but, like, I bet they're pretty easy to tame.
Tell that to the guy who just got thrown 8 feet in the air. So Nous the Father, not Nous the Creator, Nous the Father of all, created humanity in his own image and loved them as his own children. And he gave them all of his creation. Man, observing the Father and the Creator, wished also to create, and he was given permission to do so. This is where we will eventually get the Xbox.
What?
Yes, all of this will eventually lead to the creation of the Xbox.
Like the Microsoft Xbox?
Yes, man wished to create, and that was the pinnacle of his achievement, and it's been downhill since then.
I beg to differ, Ben. You introduced me to PC gaming over COVID.
Man wished to build his own PC. And the father said graphics cards are going to be expensive for a little while.
But good news, because of that, we're going to stall out on like making everything need the more expensive ones because we know nobody's going to have one.
So, what he did, man carefully observed the creations of the Creator, whom he considers his brother. And from the Creator, he obtained every power. The Father and the Creator both loved man, and each gave him of their own authority. And having acquired knowledge of their essence and partaking in their nature, he wished to break through the circumference of the spheres and come to know the power of him who was set in authority over the fire. And at this point, I wrote, not 100% sure what happens in this next part. Read it for yourself. This is how man comes to be a living being.
Oh boy, this will be fun.
Man descended through the light into the downward moving elements and showed nature for the first time, capital N nature.
Okay.
Showed nature the beautiful form of God, as man had been made in God's image.
Mm-hmm.
Nature was enchanted with man and showed him his reflection in the water so that man could see how beautiful he was. And man, seeing himself in nature, gave him an idea, and he wished to dwell in it, and wishing made it so. And man was enveloped in nature's embrace, and they united and loved each other. And this is how humans, of all living beings on the earth, came to have a dual nature, mortal in body, but immortal in essence. And although our essence is immortal, and we have been given authority over all, we still suffer mortal things, which are subject to destiny, despite technically being above the cosmos. We have become enslaved to it. But our true nature is beyond the world, gender, and sleep.
You know what? As someone who has a very fickle relationship with sleep, this is where I'm going to say, yeah, sure.
Yeah, you're following still? You're on board with this?
Yeah.
So if you had to sum it up to me in your own words?
I plead the fifth.
So what's happened here is three beings, I understand there to have been created, and possibly a fourth if you consider nature a being and not just a poetic license. There's God the Father of all, the originator, God the Creator, the demiurge that made the material plane, and then man, which willingly chose to descend into the material plane and live within it. Not unlike the Valar in the Silmarillion.
Oh, God. You leave that talking about Tolkien shit with Nate.
Do you think Tolkien ever read the Corpus Hermeticum? He might have. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised to find that he did, like dabble in, like, studying it a little bit, just because of, like, he's just a big nerd. But, like, I doubt he'd get too deep into it. Because it starts to get, like, weird.
Okay. So, Hermes starting to vibe with the mystical stuff now. And he wants to know what happened next. Poimandres explains that since man had within him the harmony of the seven spheres, nature set about creating 7 humans corresponding to the 7 spheres. And Hermes asked,
7 continents.
What happened after that? And Poimandres said, if you'd shut up for a minute, I'll tell you. So once nature had ironed out the basic forms of everything, and the cycle of primal creation had ended, it was time for the beginning of ages. It was time for time.
Oh, God.
Okay.
I'm bad at time.
Well, there was once an age where it wasn't a factor. You should have lived then. Maybe you did.
I wish.
At this point in time, at the beginning of ages, all creatures were of both genders.
Sort of like clownfish.
Sort of like clownfish, yes. But unlike clownfish, the bond holding the male and female together was loosed, and all creatures split in half and became male and female.
So like a sea anemone. Anemone.
Yes. Exactly like that. And then God spoke with the holy word. All has been fashioned and brought into being. May you increase and continue to increase. May you multiply and continue to multiply. And may the human endowed with nous recognize that they are immortal, that desire is the cause of death, and may they come to know all the things that are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Totally 100%.
Those humans, then, who recognize themselves for what they truly are, ultimately will come to the supreme good. But those humans who prize bodily things, born from the illusions of desire, will remain wandering in the dark and experience through the senses death and suffering.
Okay. I understand.
Do you?
Yeah, and I'm also starting to figure out that when you have those sentences that just kind of start ending in like vague uses of like pronouns and adverbs and adjectives and like things that like you're saying something but not saying anything at all, like they are, we are, when with us. Yeah, I forgot there was a subject to this. And now I'm just like, so if I were to indulge myself, however you might take that, I would be bound to death and fire.
So, the way I understand this, and this is something that waffles a lot throughout the Corpus Hermeticum. I don't know exactly what he means by what happens to those who get wrapped up in desire. So when I hear these things, naturally you think of
excess, you think of like sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Well, you think of that, but so basically you think of there's a good life and a bad life. There's good things to spend your time contemplating and bad things to spend your time contemplating. And if you do the good, you will be rewarded, and if you will do the bad, you'll be punished. And there's a very Christian notion of like the good people go to heaven, the bad people go to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a slightly different Christian thing, the good people live forever, the bad people die and fade into non-existence.
Yeah.
Or is there a reincarnation cycle? And there are many things that hint that there is, though to what extent human beings participate in that reincarnation cycle, I don't fully understand. So sometimes he will say that human beings die and their spirits continue to wander looking for another body. But it is unclear to me if they are ever capable of finding another body.
So my personal belief, and I will 100% admit that it's kind of handed to me in part by being a huge fan of Final Fantasy VII.
Okay.
Final Fantasy VII has this, there is a race of people that has long since basically gone extinct, and famously Eris is the last one, and these people are called the Ancients, and the Ancients are essentially like almost like cosmic level shaman in how they can like how you hear a shaman described as being able to manipulate energy to like heal and whatnot. It's literally what the Ancients can do with the Mako energy of the earth. And like the Mako energy in Final Fantasy VII is the stuff that you can use to make like your magic abilities with, and it is also literally the spirit energy and battery power of the earth itself. If it like diminishes, the earth is in big trouble. And as I've gotten older, and as I've like, I grew up being made to go to church but not really understanding, and then I just admitted to myself like I don't hold a particular religious belief, but the idea that there is a a cycle of energy that is forever in rotation, and that is where the human soul comes from. So when you die, your soul goes back into the stream, and as time goes on, it might be that whole soul again, or a piece of that soul and a couple others that get put into a new body. I don't think it's any like one-to-one. I think it is just like here is your portion of the life stream. Now go.
So we'll go a little bit into what he says in this chapter about it. So Hermes asks Poimandres, why are people who prize the body getting it so wrong that they're deprived of immortality? To which Poimandres is kind of like, are you just stupid or not paying attention? And Hermes is like, I guess I might be stupid. And Poimandres is like, well, take a guess. And Hermes says, well, because the grim darkness is the first origin of one's own body, from which darkness arose the watery nature, from which darkness the body is formed in the sensory world of which death drinks. So basically, if you tie yourself to the body, you get what the body gets. If you tie yourself to the spirit, you get what the spirit gets. And he says, so those who recognize in themselves only the things of the dark return to the dark. Those who recognize in themselves the things of the light return to light. Poimandres, who is Nous, says that he will come to the aid of the devout, the noble, the merciful, and pure. He will help them. By living a life full of love, they will know all things, and at the end, he will be the gatekeeper, and he will close all entrances to evil. Those who do not live according to Nous, the evil, the worthless, the envious, the greedy, the murderous, and ungodly people, Nous will stay very far away from them, indeed. Instead, he will give way to the avenging spirit. Unclear if this is a real like satanic figure or just like a metaphor. But the avenging spirit will assault them through the senses, throwing fiery darts at them. He will move them to greater acts of lawlessness so that they will suffer even greater retribution. And in spite of this, they will not turn from their lust and their violence. The avenging spirit then tortures them and increases the fire upon them to its utmost. And so Hermes asks Nous, okay, so how would you help me then if I lived in the light? What are you going to do after I die? And he says, so when you die, your body is going back to the source. The material body is going back into the cycle of the world. Meanwhile, and this is a direct quote, the seat of emotions and desire go to mechanical nature. They rise up through the harmony of the cosmos. They rise through 7 planes where they are cleansed of, I guess you'd call them defilements or imperfections.
Impurities?
And this points to like an initiate-based system. So on the first plane, they will surrender the activity of growth and diminution. they will not change anymore.
Okay.
On the 2nd, they will surrender the means of evil and trickery. They will not lie, I guess, which is a little weird because when they get to the 3rd, they're going to surrender covetous deceit.
So say the second one again.
Evil, the means of evil and trickery.
Cunning, almost.
Yeah, I guess. But and then the 3rd, they'll surrender covetous deceit. That seems kind of like the same thing.
I understand what they're saying. I understand the difference. I just don't know how to put it into words. All I can think of is I'm just thinking about like lock picking and like
the covetous deceit. Like, come on, man. No, and to some extent, you're probably right. Is the way you're supposed to read these things is they are trying to communicate a meaning that is beyond words.
Yeah,
that's why it's esoteric and not an IKEA manual.
Well, an IKEA manual is kind of
esoteric. The 4th, they will surrender avarice.
Avarice?
Avarice.
What is that?
Greed?
Wouldn't even spelled it right. An extreme, endless desire for wealth, money, or material things. So yeah, greed.
Yeah. And the 5th, this is one for you. Impious daring and reckless audacity.
What?
How many of your D&D characters are currently on trial?
Exactly 1.
On the 6th, they will surrender evil impulses for wealth and material gain. Again, but it's different. Trust me. And then on the 7th, they'll surrender all falsehood, which again,
yeah, I'm not quite sure.
I feel like you could have tried harder to think of 7 different things.
Yeah.
There could be a problem of the translation here, but we'll see. So then, stripped of these imperfections that are inherent to the cosmos, the person will enter the substance of the 8th plane and sing praises to the Father with those who are present. There they will ascend to the Father and merge with the Godhead. That's the end of Evangelion. This is the ultimate end, the supreme good, to become God, which is apparently where we started, but we're going on a little material rumspringa, and then we're coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
Hermes then goes forth to preach wisdom to his fellow men so that they might be freed from death and ascend into the light. And the book ends with prayers that should be offered up to God. That was 1 chapter, Shai. That was probably the most in-depth chapter. But I think we're definitely looking at 2 parts if you want to cover the whole thing.
Yeah, we're looking at 2 parts because that's... How many chapters are there?
There are 16, but some of them are missing.
Okay.
Well, let me get through. We could burn through a couple because, like I said, you would think so. Chapter 1 is a lot.
Yeah.
None of the other chapters even come close to this level of detail. Not even close. So chapter 2, and this is why I say they must be out of order, because chapter 1 feels like so much information that's got to be close to like a high rank.
Yeah.
Because book 2 is so simple. It's basically just, well, there's actually good evidence to suggest we're missing a substantial chunk of this book. Other texts we have found actually reference it, and they have it under a different heading and with quotes that give different line numbers. So it seems like this book kind of starts in the middle. And this is Hermes speaking to his student Asclepius. Asclepius is the Greek god of medicine. If you've seen the serpent staff, yeah, I think that's Asclepius's deal. So this chapter is very different from the previous, where the previous was this demonstration with commentary from the two characters. This is purely just a dialogue, very Plato. Two characters are engaging in a discussion that is supposed to illustrate some kind of philosophical argument or proof. And so basically what Hermes is trying to do is prove to Asclepius that God must logically exist. This is really I thought Plato was kind of boring my whole life until I read this.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I understand why Plato is so long and boring, is because he is covering his bases. He is eliminating counter arguments. He is addressing everything he could think of. Trismegistus does not do that. He is basically saying that the cosmos is in motion, right? And this is your cause and effect. But that's kind of what he means by motion. Things move other things. And that something in motion, as we know, must be caused to move. If nothing causes it to move, it doesn't move. It doesn't just randomly move.
No, it's an argument that, as it is framed now, just sounds really douchey and pedantic.
So what could cause reality itself to move other than some creator outside of reality who does not himself move, but is eternal? It's a very weak argument that has been made by theological apologists since the dawn of time. And I just don't see much reason to get into it here. This is far from the best version of this argument. And it's basically if everything is caused by cause and effect, then there must be something beyond cause and effect that caused, or that affected the first cause. And that must be God. Okay, that's a circular argument, but whatever. So that's why I figured I could imagine this being given to an initiate, somebody who's not thought super deeply about stuff yet, and you're not encouraging to think super deeply.
Yeah.
We'll go through book 3 real quick. This is really just a shorter account of the creation from book 1. And again, I just feel like this is something that would have been given to somebody before they got to what was in book 1. So I'm actually going to skip over that. But basically, it's a little bit more ambiguous. And this is the other reason I think this book might be for a lower ranked initiate. Because book 1 has a very, there is one God.
Yeah.
And he does everything. He is the cause of everything. In this one, it talks about gods more generally. And it talks about maybe the one God created all these other gods and gave them each a domain, and they each act in the world. And yeah, you can still make your sacrifice to the temple of Zeus. And just know, Zeus is just one of many. He's not the big one. And so this seemed to me like an easy intro for somebody. It's you could get on, and then I'll convince you later. So now this is a funny one. So book 4, we get into Hermes having a conversation with his son, who is named in this translation Tot. T-A-T. But I think this is Thoth.
Yeah, I could see that. That makes sense.
So Hermes is instructing his son on the nature of God, good, and nous. He is attempting to explain the goal of their religious practice and the potential consequences of success or failure. So first point, one thing you got to know, my sons, all people have some share in the word of God, but not all people have nous. So not all people have the divine mind or have access to it yet, but all people were created by the word of God. Nous is the prize for souls. When our soul connects to Nous, that's our prize for leading this good life.
Are you saying that people who do not have Nous do not have souls?
They have souls, but they don't have access to Nous. Nous is where things start to make sense. That's that divine mind. That's that things start getting easier, and it's that enlightenment experience.
Okay.
So those who have it, they know God, they know their own divine origins. And those who don't have it, they just stumble through life, slaves to their worldly desires.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I can see that.
So basically, like somebody who has Nous, I think this is how I would interpret it. Somebody who has Nous, they're not trying anymore to resist things that are bad for them. They look at alcohol and they just don't want it.
Yeah.
It's not, they started out saying like, no, I can't, I'm not allowed.
And now it's not even a temptation.
Yeah, they eventually get to the point where they just don't need it anymore. So Tot says, I want some of that Nous.
Ooh. Well, that's counterproductive to getting the Nous.
Well, and Hermes says that if you do not, and this is bad advice in the modern age, I think, if you don't first hate your body, son, you cannot love yourself.
Bro. No.
If you love yourself, you will have Nous. And having Nous, you will partake of knowledge. For it is important to be governed by both the mortal and by the divine. There are two kinds of beings, the embodied and the unembodied, in whom there is the mortal and the divine spark. Man is left to choose one or the other if he so wishes, for one cannot choose both at once. When one is diminished, it reveals the power of the other. So I think when he's saying hate your body, I don't think he might literally, these might be ascetics. They might be literally starving themselves and shit. I don't know. But I think in a broader sense, it's more, you've got to turn away from things that are physically satisfying to things that are spiritually satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it sounds like literally don't be led by temptation.
Yeah. Yeah. So, particularly interesting, Hermes goes on to say that God is not the cause of any evil. Humans are to blame for evil because humans prefer evil to good.
That's a hot take.
He then asks if Thoth understands, and this is where it gets confusing for me, how many bodies we have to pass through, how many bands of demons, through how many series of repetitions and cycles of the stars before we hasten to the one alone. And that, to me, this will be contradicted later, that seems to be a cycle of death and rebirth.
Yeah, it sounds like how many times do I have to enter and exit and re-enter, the life stream before I become one with the one.
Yeah, when that's a very Hindu idea, that your behavior in this world, basically, if you're having a good time, if you're partying, you're gonna keep looping through,
and that's
until
not a good thing.
Well, until you figure out that that's just really not satisfying, and you're gonna keep going in the direction. You choose your direction and you keep going in it. It's your choice. And I kind of like that idea myself of people who are obsessed with worldly things. Well, more worldly things to you.
Yeah.
People who want to move beyond, well, more moving beyond to you. And it's not necessarily punishment, capital P, as it is, it hasn't clicked for you yet. You need a little more time. You need to repeat that grade. And then he basically just goes on to explain that we should choose good. Be good, don't be bad.
I mean,
I'm going to see if we could get to book 6. I think we can. And then we'll take a break. Book 5, Hermes to Tot. This is more apologetics. Again, this is more of a divine watchmaker argument, if you've ever heard that one. If you found this is one Christian biblical literalists kind of like. If you find a watch on the beach, would you assume that somebody made it, or that it slowly evolved from a simpler watch?
Well, Ben, now that you mention it, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, right. And that's basically the argument in this chapter is look at how complicated you are. Look at how much you can do. Look at your reason. Look at the sheer wonder of the human experience. Do you think that just crawled out of the muck? And it's like, well,
No.
you know, over a period of millions of years, I don't think you really appreciate deep time, Hermes. Like, you know, yeah, but like it took forever.
I understand. Like you can't really comprehend hundreds of thousands, millions and billions of years, but like,
they didn't have evolution, but I'm sure if they didn't have the concept of evolution at this point, but I'm sure if they did, Hermes would have had a chapter where he asks Tot, you know, if we came from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? So
some scientists say we share 99% DNA with a banana. What the fuck does that mean?
I don't think it's 99%, but it's a lot.
It's a surprisingly high percentage, and I don't care. It's like
So there's a couple of interesting things in this chapter. I find the apologetic arguments for the existence of God just lame, to be honest.
mm-hmm.
But there's a prayer that is interesting. And one of the lines of the prayer says, the finest part of matter is air. Of air, soul. And of soul, nous. And of nous, God. And so he's establishing something that I think has like alchemical implications. He's establishing like a hierarchy of purity of material.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was neat, but that was really the only thing I gleaned from book 5.
Yeah.
So book 6, and this is where we'll stop. This is Hermes to Asclepius. And Hermes attempts to explain to Asclepius the nature of God, which is ultimately the nature of good itself. So God is whole and complete. He lacks nothing. He needs nothing.
Okay.
He doesn't eat. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't drink. He is perfect in and of himself. He possesses nothing. Nothing can be lost to him. You can't take anything away from him. He doesn't need anything. And no being is mighty enough to ever inflict any kind of injury or injustice upon God. He simply cannot be provoked to anger. He loves all.
Okay.
Now, there is some measure of evil in all the things of the world, but human beings can catch glimpses of the supreme good through the development of nous. God is not normally perceptible by our senses, but God also exists in all things. And we can only ever see one attribute at a time. We can never see the whole of God. Never the whole, Shy.
I don't want to see the whole.
You can never look directly in the whole.
No, thank you.
And
That
true
would be
beauty, true beauty exists only in the imperceptible whole. Do not be fooled into thinking lesser things are beautiful or desirable. Only the whole of God.
Oh my god! I some like
Whole.
I remember you reading some, like, not just this, but like various other like old like texts and things that are like somehow related to like mythologies and religions. And
Sounds like me.
I don't like, I know I am a modern shy, but like literally cannot wrap my head around how, if they are writing these things down like this, how is not a single person like,
Stop saying hole.
please, can we find another word?
It's possible, Shy, that WHOLE, referring to complete, does not, in Greek,
It might be two different
form a
words. Yeah.
homophone with the word we might use for an orifice.
Yeah. That's why I said, like, I know I'm a modern shy. It's like, this is hard for me to just not look back at like everybody that's from that time period and be like, okay, this is, I understand you have your really nice frescoes with your boobies and your dicks out, but has nobody caught on to the innuendo here?
So my thoughts on this chapter, I wrote a note. I said, again, this seems to me like something that would be given or read to a lower level initiate. It raises obvious questions about theology that have plagued the discipline since the dawn of time. How can something be entirely good and entirely powerful and be the creator of the world in which we all agree that evil definitely exists?
Yeah, that sounds like a really big plot hole. I mean, flaw in one's design.
Yeah, in theology, every religion has been grappling with that question since the dawn of time. There are reasonable arguments for it. A lot of people say the same thing that he's saying here is like, it's humans. Because we have free will, we have to be allowed to make things worse. And that's what we have done. It's been us the whole time. But, then people would clap back of like, why does free will have to work that way? Why does suffering have to hurt so much? Like, was childhood cancer really necessary? Which person kicked that one off?
Did we really have to like make it possible for whole human beings, whole adults, lose their humanity for other human beings, other adults, other children, like just in the scope of human history? Mm-hmm. It's just wild how that's possible.
Yeah, so he says a lot that, like, evil comes from ignorance. Well, then where does ignorance come from? Why does God allow it? The philosophical arguments of whoever wrote this are just not very complicated or compelling. There are, I will say, better arguments. There are Christian scholars and Muslim scholars and Jewish rabbis and every other religion in between who have produced very well thought out, very complicated, very insightful ideas about why things have to be this way. Mm-hmm. That is not this.
No.
This is, if you found a watch on the beach, you wouldn't assume it was.
Look, my little calculator Timex, give it 50 years and it'll be a Rolex.
No, this is some redneck with a church in the middle of nowhere that doesn't have air conditioning, preaching common sense gospel.
He watched a cow give birth to a cyclops.
No, I was like, it really, like, these dialogues, like, it really makes you appreciate Plato. Because whenever Socrates is on his bullshit in Plato, someone calls him out. Someone always raises the obvious question. And I feel like there's a million obvious questions here. Like when he says evil comes from ignorance. And it's like, okay, well then why does God let us be stupid? Why aren't we just born with knowledge?
Yeah.
I mean, and you could tell me that there's something to the process of gaining knowledge that is important, but then shouldn't you mention that? Like, shouldn't you cover that base? Like, I don't know. I find this weak. I find this entry level. It's only somebody who's already bought in is going to care about this.
Yeah. If you're using this as your argument to like recruit members, you're gonna have to like don't go for the ones who have the ability to talk back.
The one interesting thing I'll say is that it's, even at the time it was written, it's kind of interesting that this mostly polytheistic society, because even if it's written in the first century, like, I'm not sure how much Christianity has really influenced the Hellenistic world at that point. So it is interesting to think of people back in these times needing to have these debates. Like he's saying this because obviously somebody doesn't think they either don't think God is real, they either don't think he's all powerful and all good, or they think there's some other explanation for what's happening. Mm. So who is he really talking to? Who is he trying to refute? Who are these people going around preaching the counter argument? I'd love to know more about that. And I might look more into that because I'm sure there are many and varied.
Well, and I wonder how much isn't just him personifying his own self-doubts.
That's a possibility too.
You see me do it all the goddamn time. I tell myself in the third person to shut up all the time.
It's interesting to me the style that this was chosen to be written in. It does read to me like an inferior Plato. Plato makes similar arguments about God and goodness and the supreme good. Like, Plato also preaches that nothing bad comes from God, but he's way better at it. And even that, like, there's obviously holes you can poke into it. It's not the final word, but like, I appreciate a good argument when I see it, and this is just not a good argument. But I think that's where we're going to end for now. I think we've made it through about half of the Hermeticum, and next time we'll pick up with book 7 of the Corpus Hermeticum, and we'll go through to the definitions. It's kind of covering a lot of same territory. It shouldn't take quite this long.
Cool.
But yeah, I don't know, Shai. What are your thoughts so far? Have you found any of this even a little interesting?
Yes. So it's
you're my occult barometer for the common person.
When you're reading directly from the text, like, just like anybody, like, just like any layperson, not even like somebody with ADHD, like, it's just like, it started sounding cool, and then you kept getting flowery. Like, not you, the text kept getting flowery, and like, not even with big words. It's just, you just start as many small words as you can fit in between now and the period, and I don't understand.
It's trying very hard to be deep.
Like, is for we am to the green? Yes, sure. I don't get it, but whatever. But like, then once we start talking about the meat of it, like, once we like pick out the part of the long-winded statement that was the meat, and we start talking about it, that's when it's like, all right, now we're getting somewhere. And I feel like that's how it would be with one of these debates with Plato. It's he'd be like, shut up, get to the point.
Yeah, the text itself is very boring, but you want to read it for the conversations it provokes. And I think there's neat things to think about here. I could tell you, like, one of the reasons I cover stuff like this is because I think it's good for fiction. Like, I think a lot of this, if you're interested, especially in writing like fantasy or anything like that, this is you.
I agree with that, because I think it is almost a keystone thing for comprehensive writing for this kind of stuff, is to understand world religions and the foundations of those religions that are no longer like a part of what we know as like the canon religions today.
Yeah. It's something like similar but alien.
Yeah.
And I think like I said, it's the only way you can there are people who read these just to memorize it and have something fluffy to quote.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you actually try to read it, try to take it on its own terms and understand it, there's criticisms of it. I don't find a ton of intellectual value in everything in this book, or indeed most of it, but there's little bits here and there where I'm like, well, that was an interesting point.
So, and I'm sorry to cut you off. This is actually something that just hit me. So let me just ask you, is it okay if I talk about what we talked about yesterday with like the idea of having, okay. So like, as you were reading this to me and like you kept saying, okay, this chapter is very much like this chapter, but it's a more simplified version. We were talking last night about how you were interested in the idea of grimoires and like magic
system based on like custom made spell books where like each person puts together a book that's like part journal, part spell manual, part conduit, and they would have a highly personalized magic.
Yeah. And you were talking about using just like a real simple spiral bound notebook as like a rough draft for you to like put your broader ideas in. And I was trying to encourage you to like, I wanted to encourage you to physically integrate those draft pages into the grimoire that you would start making as your like official thing. And this is kind of like the evidence for why you should do that. This is like a literal example of, here's my broad idea. And then we go on and then we revisit the broader idea later with better fleshed out stuff, but you have the initial and the in-between.
I love that stuff. Like, because I'll tell you, one of the things we do on talking about Tolkien, we haven't really gotten into it, but you've seen me read The History of Middle-earth. Uh-huh. And that is basically Christopher Tolkien went through all his dad's papers and put together as much as he could the evolution of the mythology and the story of Lord of the Rings through the drafts, the many drafts he did. Mm-hmm. And that's something I've always been fascinated by as somebody who was, born into the era of computers and word processors. Mm-hmm. Is oftentimes nowadays we're just writing over the draft. We don't, like when Tolkien wrote, he wrote with a pencil, and sometimes he would go over that in ink. Yeah. And then he'd type it. And so each draft, you got at least 2 documents out of. Yep. And there'd be changes between those documents. And I do love seeing how something evolves. If you have all the detail, I love seeing the way people's ideas evolve through their writing. It's part of the reason I write longhand. I don't talk about that a lot, but but if I write fiction, I write longhand and then I type it. Mm-hmm. Because I like the physical connection. I like not relying. People talk about, don't write with AI, and I agree with that 100%. Mm-hmm. But I also think writing a first draft with a word processor can be not free of risk. Like, the risk with AI is you're outsourcing your thinking to the machine. Yeah. But with a word processor, even, there's a certain amount of your thinking that you're outsourcing to the machine. You don't have to look up words. Spell check will get it for you. Yep. You can just quickly Google. You can copy and paste stuff. You can delete that paragraph, or you can move that paragraph down here, or you can, and I'll write with Scrivener. Like I did this script in Scrivener, and I've got chapters all over the place and definitions and research and stuff lingered throughout. Like I've got a page with the 7 planets on it. I've got all that. But when you write by hand, you're just kind of like forced to focus in and reorganize some of that or rewrite some of that stuff. And in doing that, you get, I don't know, I feel like you get a little bit more of a relationship with the text.
Yeah.
And I like what you're saying here too, where it's like, oh yeah, we've got, creation, worse creation, apologetics, worse apologetics. like it's, but yeah, it is interesting to try to be like, okay. And this is a wonderful part about studying old texts, or even like the Bible. It's like, so in the Bible, easy one, first chapter of Genesis, there's 2 versions of creation. And the editor, because there was obviously an editor, does not tell you why. He doesn't tell you why he put 2 versions of creation in there.
He just thought it was important to do.
Did he have 2 and he didn't know which was right? Is one of them right and one of them not right? What are they both? Is one more specific or less specific? And it becomes important because in one version of creation, Adam and Eve are created co-equal. God creates man and women at the same time.
They're made of dirt.
And in the other one, he creates man first and then woman from his rib.
That one's obviously got an agenda.
Well, I don't, there is some specific language about existing to, serve and please, but, and people then go on to live their life based on that. But I've never heard, I haven't heard a lot of like people who are strongly patriarchal and use the Bible to justify it talk much about the other account where they're created co-equal. But that's in there. And maybe the editor was like, yeah, there's 2 very different ways of reading this with a lot of potential implications for society. And I think people are going to want to have both of them. It's like, could you give me any guidance on which way right. you were leaning on? Could you put your thumb on that scale just a little so we know which way to go? But then there'll be other times where it's like, we keep this gospel, we cut that gospel. Why? I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I think it's like that with this is some guy had a codex. Maybe the same person wrote all these texts. Probably not.
Yeah. It's typically multiple hands are involved in these things.
Well, and it's like I told you, like even with old school printing, you print folios and then you take them to a binder and you get them bound. And that's how you'll have some of these old books that contain multiple different texts that were never printed together, but it was one guy bought 3 folios and he had them bound together. So when you're making a codex of manuscripts, well, who compiled these manuscripts? Why are they in the order they're in? Did somebody just grab them off a desk and throw them in and get them bound?
Or was there like a specific reason?
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. I love studying it. But you're right. The studying is boring. And believe me when I tell you, if anyone actually wants to pick up this book, it's not expensive. It's about $15 and it's very short. It's like pamphlets, less than a Goosebumps.
Yeah, it's like, 100 pages?
Get 100 pages like with the index. So yeah, it's very short, but like it'll take you a minute to process. There's a little bit you got to dig through here. And I am probably not processing it correctly. I am very dismissive of some of it, but read it yourself. Leave a comment. Well, Shy, I don't think I thank the patrons on this, but you are technically a patron.
Yeah.
So is there anything you want to plug? I will try to have this out When's your show?
Saturday, August 8th at 8 p.m. at the Gamut Theater in Harrisburg.
I might get this out by Friday the 7th.
Don't hurt yourself.
If you're in the Harrisburg area and you want to see some sketch comedy, go to the Gamut Theater.
I have a negative visceral reaction to... I like being in the background when these things happen.
You like being mic'd up?
Nah.
Well, you are. All right. I don't have anything to plug. Just keep listening to this podcast.
Yeah.
And hopefully it won't be another 6 months before we record part 2.
We'll see.